And I've always seen the first Extraction film as like John Wick, but when your mum says you're not going to get that, we have John Wick at home. And obviously the differences in Keanu and Hemsy are, I need a gun.
I need a fucking gun, mate.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today it's going to be a quick little movie review for Extraction 2 that is currently on Netflix starring Chris Hemsworth. So the first Extraction was a pretty fun surprise. Again, this is a stunt man's movie, a stunt performer's movie, a stunties movie, because the first one and this one are directed by a stuntman, Sam Hardgrave. So the guy knows how to film action, frame action, and obviously coordinate that action as well. Much like Chad Stahelski doing the John Wick franchise. But yeah, overall the first one was a neat little surprise. I actually had a hand in working on the first one, doing some mold making at Odd Studio here in Sydney, which was a lot of fun. That was back in 2018, and then the first one came out in 2020. It's 2023 now, and we now have Extraction 2. Now, I was actually working at Odd Studio whilst they were working on some pieces for Extraction 2. I was working on a production called The Lost Flowers of Alice Hart with Sigourney Weaver, which is due out in, I think, a month or two. So I'm very excited to show you guys what I worked on that. It was a lot of fun. But I was also seeing what they were working on for Extraction 2. They were doing a life-size dummy of Chris Hemsworth, another actor, and as well as some prosthetic pieces here and there, which was really cool to see. The artistry that went into those pieces alone was incredible. I'm going to touch on the rest of the artistry because this is definitely an artistry movie, I guess you could say. So Extraction 2 picks up right where Extraction 1 left off. We have Rake nearly on the verge of death that has fallen off a bridge into the water, critically wounded, and he is nursed back to health. He is then brought out of recovery to extract two kids from a prison in Georgia before their drug lord dad can get to him. So in other words, just a really naughty deadbeat dad that's in the running for Father of the Year. And as you can imagine, hijinks ensue. And that's pretty much the basic premise. I really feel the story for this particular film was an afterthought. All the stunts came first. And that was a draw card with the first Extraction. We had this 11 odd minute one take shot, even though it's multiple shots stitched together. In this case, we have a 21 minute one take shot, again, multiple shots stitched together. And there's definitely the draw card. And it's one of the coolest things about these films. It's on par with John Wick in terms of little story, a story being an afterthought, and just a show reel for these incredible stunt performers, these set pieces. In the case of this 21 minute take, it's brutal, gnarly. It goes from a prison to a train to a steelworks factory. It's ridiculous. And at the same time, not only do you have some incredible stunt work, but gore. This is a very gory film. They have upped the gore factor this time around. One poor bastard gets a dumbbell to his face from Hemsy and gets his face caved in. My only disappointment with that particular stunt is Hemsy didn't say the following.
Pump an eye, more like pump your face, mate.
That's my best Hemsy impression. I have to register my voice so fucking low
to bloody do it, mate.
Now, the writing was actually done by the Russo brothers, funny enough. So they've obviously done their bit with Marvel. Now they've transitioned over and doing other things, including Extraction 2. Again, directed by Sam Hardgrave, once again, who directed Extraction 1, who is a stunt performer. So the guy gets it, which is really cool. Like Chad Stahelski, you need people like this doing these big action set piece films because they see the ins and outs. They see the in front and behind the camera of how these stunts go, and that's why they look so damn good. In terms of Hemmo's performance, I was actually pretty surprised. There are a few moments, much like Sandler, where he really delivered a damn good performance. I'm like, oh, dude, that was acting. And I never want to shit on someone's performance. Hell, I'm about to play Nathan Drake, and I'm sure people are going to shit on my performance. It's just subjective, but at the same time, watching Hemsy, I'm like, dude, like, you really upped your game, not just from an acting standpoint, but the physicality of him in this was brutal. The guy's an absolute tank in this. But the story definitely takes a backseat. You just have all these action set pieces where they just happen to inject a story, just something to bind all these action set pieces together. The ending is brutal. Like, it's just, it gets down to a bare knuckle brawl where two men are like putting nails into each other. Hemsy's like getting a saw blade through his hand. It's just ridiculous. It's bordering on Hostel and Saw type gore, and I never thought I'd say that going into an Extraction movie. At the end of the day, the story isn't going to give anything thought-provoking. What you are going into is people who have worked their fucking asses off rehearsing these stunts, the production design, seeing all the beautiful prosthetics, like the gore effects and stuff like that. We have life-size, hyper-realistic dummies that I was fortunate enough to see the behind the scenes of, especially when it came to Chris Hemsworth dummy. There were artisans hand-punching hair for 2 weeks straight on his bloody noggin. It's absolutely incredible to see. And the very last couple of lines at the end got me jonesing for a full franchise, like on par with John Wick. And I don't mean to compare it to John Wick, but like they pretty much are similar, you know? And I feel like they're in leagues of their own, but this definitely is setting up a franchise. I want to see more of it. We have a cheeky cameo from Idris Elba. Again, his last couple of lines sprinkled at the end just sets up something that could be a really fun franchise if they keep going more and more bombastic like they did with this one compared to the first one. Hell yeah, I'm all for it. When it comes to rating a film like this, I'm not going to say it's tricky, but if knowing full well you're going into this to see just a beautiful showcase of stunt performers, artisans hard at work, knowing full well that the story's taking a backseat. And that's exactly what I was expecting, so I was thoroughly impressed. And with that, I'm going to be giving Extraction 2
4 Hemsys out of 5, mate.
But if you're after the thought-provoking, thinking person's film, you're probably going to give it like 2 out of 5. But it's like going into John Wick. If you think otherwise, well, you kind of deserve to be disappointed. I definitely think it was better than the first one. Again, they upped their game. If they are going to do an Extraction 3, holy shit, like, the hell are they going to do next? Love you guts, and I'll catch you in the next one.